Justin Tuck on that team, Alden Smith, Khalil Mack. I mean, they have some decent players on the defensive side of the ball. They really do. And when they put it together, they can be a formidable team. But I think this is more of an indictment on Denver. At some point, you knew.
We got a caller. Just a second.
Okay, go.
I'll lose them. Okay. Caller, go ahead. From the 860. Where's that from?
So I'm actually living in Henderson, Nevada. This is Peter. I'm calling in about the Patriots. I'm going to talk on it tonight.
Okay, terrific. I'm going to put you on a long hold if you don't mind. And if you could just go ahead and mute your mic. When we get to the Patriots-Texans, I'd like to talk with you. So just hang tight, okay?
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So, yeah, and you're right. The Oakland Raiders are developing and are building every step of the way to turn themselves into the next formidable AFC West opponent. Well, we got teams like the San Diego Chargers falling apart. We have Denver wondering what they're going to be doing at quarterback, and we have the Oakland Raiders sitting right there, and the Kansas City Chiefs with their ultimate extreme streakiness of like win 7, lose 4. You have the Oakland Raiders looking like they could be contenders for a long period of time, and they finally look like they could be building because they're young. Well, they're young and they're old. They got all these like 38-year-old Darren Woodsons and Charles Woodson. I mean, they got these old guys, but eventually they're going to be replacing them with fresh young talent, and boy, they're going to be formidable for many, many years to come.
But your real worry here, like I said, is Denver. At some point, you knew that they were going to come down off of. I think, look, when a quarterback comes in to take over for someone and you have an excellent defense, it's not hard to look decent and to win a couple games. But at some point, you're going to get put in a position where the quarterback's got to win the game, and that's where you see the glaring defect of the Broncos. He's not – when the offense has to win the game for him, when the defense isn't doing it, can they win the game? And, I mean, obviously it doesn't look like that's going to be able to happen. I don't think it would happen with Peyton Manning. I think he's done for the rest of the year, and even if he comes back in, it's going to be an embarrassment. So I think it's sad for the Broncos. I mean, it's sad if you're a Broncos fan. If you're not, then screw you, Broncos, because I've had so many seasons of watching them be good and watching them dump money into that team and a win-now mentality. Here's the problem with that. If you don't win now, you're screwed.
Yeah, not at this point. With the salary cap and the way things are situated, with John Elway's situation in that office, it's ultimately going to fall apart. And I think that that gives me a great segue, because the Patriots, I honestly feel, are kind of like in a similar thing as Tom Brady's timetable is beginning to tick. And we'll go ahead and transition to the Patriots-Texans, and we'll skip the Green Bay Packers and Cowboys, come back to that afterwards. Caller, thank you so much for calling us. Go ahead and tell us what you saw about the Patriots and Texans, and tell us, is there life without LeGarrette Blount?
All right, so I watched the game in its entirety, as I do all their games, and what really jumped out from the screen to me was their defense. Brian Hoyer was 11-22 for 155 yards. And he was getting harassed. The offensive line wasn't great at points, but the Patriots' defensive line really blew him up. He got sacked, I believe it was 6 times on the night. Ended up getting knocked out with a concussion. I hope he's going to be okay, because those aren't any good. Shared the Patriots acquisition from New Orleans had 2 forced fumbles and 2 sacks, so he really stepped it up. The defensive line did a great job. And then offensively, Rob Gronkowski was huge in the game. In fact, he was the leading receiver for the Patriots, 87 yards on 4 grabs and a touchdown. It was good to see him back, and I think having him back helps the Patriots in the long run, because without a guy like him who can take attention away from perhaps other players like Amendola, Brandon LaFell, and Martin, and those players of that caliber who aren't on Gronkowski's level, helps the offense open up a lot more. That being said, I look at LeGarrette Blount. Life without him is going to be a little tough for the Patriots. And the reason I say that is because he's a leading rusher right now. He has 703 yards on 165 attempts. averaging just 4.3 yards a carry and 6 touchdowns. When you take away that productivity from run game, it definitely hurts. I'm not sure how much it's going to end up hurting them in the end, but I think it's going to hurt them a little bit because he's a bruising back. He can pound you. He can tire defenses out. So that's going to sting a little bit. But luckily they brought Monte Ball in, which I think he'll be okay. He's not going to be great, but he'll be okay, I think. He had a pretty decent year last year in Denver. I think he'll be all right. And then you look at Brandon Bolden. He's another kind of bruising type running back, but his only average is 3.1 yards per carry, and that's a little bit alarming in my opinion. And then the second leading rusher behind Blunt is actually still out, is Dion Lewis. He's been out for quite some time now, so the Patriots need to figure out this running back situation. Maybe James White, they can get him involved more in the running game, although he's more of a pass-catching back. So there's concern with LeGarrette Blount being out. I'm just curious to see how Monte Ball will do in the offense or how the rest of these guys will step up. But overall, the last night's game was a really good game to watch. Or sorry, Sunday night's game, not last night. Sunday night's game was great to watch, and the defense really stepped it up. So the defense can continue to harass other players, other opposing quarterbacks, and stuff the running game at the line of scrimmage. They'll be okay. But as far as the run game goes, there's definitely a cause for concern with LeGarrette Blount being out.
You know, and you said three things here, and I'll go ahead and bring those out. LeGarrette Blount is in James White, okay? James White did actually score a touchdown, though I don't think anybody thought that he was actually going to get the ball at that close to the end zone because he's usually in on passing downs. But we also saw, you're right, the defensive line of the Patriots totally harassed the crud out of the Texans. But what are we going to have now? What are we going to have now that we got Patriots defensive linemen falling out of windows after smoking synthetic marijuana? Is this a case of too much party time? Too much of a good thing going on in New England?
No, I think it's more of just idiocy. You know, it's funny you mention that because there's a lot of dumb things like this that happen in the NFL constantly. It's just it's almost ridiculous that these players do these sorts of things. I think what Bill Belichick needs to do is he needs to look at his players and say, listen, you continue to do stupid stuff like this, you're going to be out. Because I don't think it's too much of a good thing happening in New England. It's just some of these younger players are just not in the mindset of how to be a professional, and they're trying to smoke synthetic marijuana possibly to try to avoid the drug testing in the NFL, which is, listen, if you're playing professional football, just don't do drugs. It's plain and simple.
No, I hear you. So, Matt, do you have a question? And while you're coming up with that question, Matt, tell everybody where they could find you online, sir. Caller.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. So you can find me online on JockJournal.com. I'm a Patriots team writer. I also write for the AFC East. And then on top of that, I also help host a radio show. It's called the Free Parking Show with Richard Powell Amos and Ryan Moreland. So you can find me on that. And then on Twitter, I'm at PeterSports88, and that's my Twitter handle.
And guys, Peter is going to be having a daytime show that's going to be a show that's right before this show at the hour earlier, and it'll be starting on Monday. So welcome to the team, Peter. Matt, do you have any questions for Peter?
Yeah, I mean, again, welcome to the show, Peter. Welcome to the team. We're excited to have you. Let me ask you, how many seasons do you think Brady can be competitive still? How many seasons you got? 2 seasons? Because if you're relying on Garoppolo, you're out of your mind. So how many seasons do we have to deal with the Patriots being competitive?
All right, so after this year, I give them 2 more years. And the reason I say that is because the Patriots' passing attack relies on a lot of short to medium range passes with a quick release by Tom Brady. So given that, I think he's not going to be throwing the deep ball that much. And if you get to the ball out quick, you won't be touched as much as maybe some of other quarterbacks who step back in the pocket and want to throw the deep ball. So I'd say after this season, I'd give him the 2016 and 2017 seasons. They'll still be really competitive. And then 2018, I think he's one right before that.
Perfect.
Between 17 and 18, he'll end up retiring.
Yeah, so you're saying he'll finish out this contract, but we probably won't see him for another one.
No, I don't think we'll see him. I think he'll play another 10 years, or that would be said. But I don't see him being able to do that. just because we've seen what happened to Peyton Manning. Obviously, injuries have hurt him. But I think Tom Brady's the kind of player, in my opinion, if he knows that father time is catching up to him, that he'll retire and leave on a high horse instead of just dragging it out like Brett Favre did that last year in Minnesota, where he just completely felt the shambles and then was on the IR and finished his career in kind of an embarrassing fashion.
Perfect. Terrific call. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And everybody, this is the type of quality radio that Jock Journal is now presenting, and you can find him on Jock Journal Radio just 1 hour before Nash and Matt. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great holiday season.
Thanks, you guys too. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So, Matt, we got the Cowboys and the Packers. One more game to quickly talk about. We got about 4 minutes. Let's go ahead and do it.
This is an easy one to talk about.
Yeah, Packers dominant.
Up the Cowboys. Yeah, of course. Eddie Lacy, here's it is. Thank you for trading me, Eddie Lacy. I knew eventually he would come back. He's reignited. God, did you see him running like the old Lacy? Just breaking tackles and spinning and making people miss. It was pretty to watch.
Yeah, and I don't regret it because I'm out of that league. I couldn't stand it. But, Eddie Lacy actually did me well on FanDuel. I really shouldn't be saying it. Nobody's listening, so it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, I was able to win $230-some-odd off of Eddie Lacy's nice running late in that Sunday afternoon.
There you go.
I was sending you those texts of my screenshots as they were coming along. So, yeah, I had faith in him given that particular matchup, and I thought that it was going to work out well. And the Packers did prevail at home, and if they would have lost that game, I would have put a fork in the Green Bay Packers season at that point, even though they would still be playoff eligible. I don't think if you're losing games to the Cowboys in Lambeau this late in the season that you even have a hope of possibly being in the Super Bowl.
I'm telling you what, listen to me. If Eddie Lacy runs like that whole Packers offense clicks right behind him. That running game is why that team was dangerous and still is so dangerous. If you can get a running game established like that with Lacy when he's running hard, it makes everything else. It means you have to put people up at the line to stop him. He's not small. He's not going to go down. And that means you can't afford to double those receivers, and you're going to give Aaron Rodgers some open looks. That is what they were missing in the games that they were losing. So I think you see a reinvigorated Green Bay Packers team come out, and I think they charge right into the playoffs and win that division.
I think that they are going to win the division. I think that pretty much the divisions are how they are, except for the NFC East, which is a relative crapshoot as who's going to end up being the NFC East representative. I think that the Vikings will probably stay the number 6 seed, and I think the Seattle Seahawks will probably stay the number 5 seed, and that's essentially all set and done. It's whoever's going to win the NFC least, which is what I'm calling them at this point because they're the least relevant, is the only place inside the playoff for the NFC that's even really up for grabs at this point.
Yeah.
So we have about a minute left. We don't have enough time to really get into the Giants and Dolphins, so we will cover the Giants-Dolphins game with the news coming out tomorrow night. And then tomorrow night we are also going to be discussing fantasy football matchups, and we will be talking about Thursday Night Football and what is going on with the matchup for Week 15 of Thursday Night Football. But we will also be going over some of the things that are happening with this injury bug. We have a specialist. I believe we're going to be able to get him on the show tomorrow. It's not 100% at this point, so don't quote me on it. But a specialist who deals in sports injuries, and deals with regular NFL players on a regular basis, possibly on the show. So that could be an interesting discussion because he believes, from what I've talked to him about, that it's this new field turf that's made of ground up, tires and stuff like that that's causing these ACLs and everything, which we've all seen a big and drastic, jump in that. So with that, we all bid you a happy holiday season. We will not be on Christmas Eve and on Christmas, but we will finish out this week, and we wish you all the best. And with that, I'm Nash.
And I'm Matt.
And you're listening to NFL Talk.